All right, hi everyone. Thank you for joining me today for the Campus Compact AmeriCorps or 2019 Host Site Application Technical Assistance webinar and call. So this is being recorded, and I will post the recording up on our YouTube page and our website after the end of today, and send out a link to everybody. But today, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to do and everything? First, we're just going to do a talk about the background of the program, then we'll dive into things like the purpose, goals, outcomes, things around performance measures. We'll talk about benefits and requirements, then the timeline, and then I'm going to dive into the host site application instructions and talk about that towards the end. If at any point you do have questions, feel free to, you can ask in the chat box, you can interrupt me. Certainly at the end, there'll be time for questions and answers, and you are welcome to reach out to me afterwards via email or set up a call or anything like that, so we can talk about your hopes and goals with the AmeriCorps program in the future. So just so we have all of our bases covered here, the background, this program, Campus Compact AmeriCorps, is funded by the Corporation for National Community Service. We do work with the Iowa Commission for Volunteer Services or Volunteer Iowa. So it is a federally funded program, but it's operated by the state of Iowa. That's who we work with, who kind of administers the grant to Iowa Campus Compact and then out to all of you. And this program, what's the kind of overall goal and feeling of it is that we're the program for campuses or volunteer centers who are seeking to expand or deepen their community partnerships. For our higher ed partners, what we're really looking for and trying to accomplish is we're trying to have AmeriCorps members contribute to the creation or implementation of your Civic Action Plan. So if you don't have a Civic Action Plan, you can have an AmeriCorps member help you create one. If you do have one, you can use AmeriCorps members to help fill some of the goals or action items that you have outlined in your Civic Action Plan. For our Volunteer Center of Iowa partners, what we're looking forward to do is to have AmeriCorps members recruit and place college students into volunteer positions through your volunteer centers. So we want you to have a great partnership with an Iowa Campus Compact member institution and use that partnership to help to find volunteer opportunities for those college students in your area. Kind of the goals of the program and a little bit more in depth is that we really want to create some stronger partnerships between higher ed and the community. We're looking to create stronger, more efficient and effective nonprofits, so really benefiting those nonprofits out in the community through a variety of different ways. We want to also support students in their journey to becoming civic professionals. That's something that we're focusing more and more on here at Iowa Campus Compact. And some of the things that we hope to accomplish on the outcome side of things is that we really want to see increased college or university capacity to partner with the community. We want to also see Volunteer Centers of Iowa, their capacity increase to recruit college student volunteers. We also want to increase the civic competency of AmeriCorps members. And then we also, on a really long-term side of things, is increase the total number of beneficiaries served within a local community, whether it is by the college or university or by their nonprofit partners. Some of the things on the side of performance measures that we're tracking with this program. So we're tracking the number of host sites who are completing a Civic Action Plan. So if you already have one completed, then you're already counted towards that. If you are a campus that is looking to create one, then we would look towards counting you for that performance measure as well. We're also counting the number of organizations receiving capacity building services from Campus Compact AmeriCorps members. So if you have an AmeriCorps member placed at an organization, they're receiving those capacity building services. And then also the host sites improving their capacity as a result of Campus Compact AmeriCorps member services, which in this case is mostly just campuses and the occasional volunteer center. Some of the host site benefits that we're offering this year with this program are really just two things: AmeriCorps positions, and then the funding for personal time to supervise AmeriCorps members for programs of particular size and focus. So kind of how it works is to break this down in a little bit more detail. This will be useful for some of you if you're new to AmeriCorps or new to Campus Compact, how we operate too. is that the AmeriCorps positions, they're awarded to the host site. So what does that mean is that if they are a paid position, they are on Iowa Western Community College's payroll. So they're the fiscal host of Iowa Campus Compacts, or they're on their payroll. This isn't a grant program where we're giving your organization funds to pay the AmeriCorps members, but instead we're paying that AmeriCorps member to serve at your organization. Those paid positions, they do serve at the host site, so they don't serve at Iowa Campus Compact. Unpaid positions, they can serve on campus, off campus, or both. So they can serve at a nonprofit, they can serve to build the capacity of your campus, or they can do kind of a mix between the two. All AmeriCorps positions are supervised by the host site. So there's a host site supervisor that we work with who ultimately supervises the AmeriCorps members. All of the AmeriCorps members provide indirect services to host sites or their nonprofit partner. Those are generally non-administrative. And that's kind of in a nutshell how some of the AmeriCorps positions work. We'll dive into some of the more specifics here in just a bit. On the paid staff side, so the kind of personnel side that I mentioned earlier, one thing to keep in mind is that the paid staff positions are on your payroll, so they're not coming out of the Iowa Campus Compact payroll. Those staff positions, basically what we're going to do is just reimburse the costs for the site supervisor time. And there's the time that's dedicated to supervising members. So that's what we're reimbursing, is the time dedicated to supervising members. On the AmeriCorps side of things, these are just the positions that we're offering for 2019. So we have the paid positions and unpaid positions. There's the program year full-time. That one is one that we've had in the past. The two ones that we've added that are new this year are academic 3/4 time and academic half-time. And those are both 9-month positions. One of them, the academic 3/4 time, that's a full-time position, about 33 hours a week. The half-time position, that is about 25 hours a week. We wanted to add those in there so that way. One thing we noticed is that a lot of our full-time members were completing their service in about 9 months. And we wanted to, as a result of that, they had to complete all 1,700 hours over 9 months, which had their weekly average, well above 40. And we wanted to kind of take some of that pressure off of them and still give them comparable benefits to that full-time position. So they can do 1,200-hour position. They don't have to feel like they have to serve 45 hours over a week. They can serve 33 hours a week. Certainly they can serve above that. And then for the half-time positions, those 900-hour ones, our thinking there was this is a good opportunity for maybe a graduate student, maybe a strong junior or senior, or other individual who you think maybe doesn't want to serve in a full-time position, or maybe you as a host site don't have enough work or opportunities for a full-time position, but this is kind of a good middle ground. We do have unpaid positions. These are the same ones that we've offered for the last 10 years or so. The 12-month, 9-month, and 4-month, those are all 300 hours with varying levels of intensity, whether it's just a few hours a week up to about 18 hours a week. So kind of the benefits in detail. I'm also going to talk about the financial contribution for each of these positions. So for our full-time members, so one thing for all of our paid positions, we calculated their living allowance at about $9 an hour. So if they go over that 1,700 hour, that minimum hour, then obviously it kind of dips below that, but that's where the math kind of comes in. And so this is, living allowance is about $15,300. We're still going to offer health insurance. That education award is still there. Professional development fund is still available, as well as the scholarship and travel support to attend the Iowa Civic Action Academy. That scholarship and travel support to attend the Civic Action Academy is true across all positions. On the financial contribution, so this is what we're asking the host site to contribute. You could provide us with, for all positions, all paid positions, we're asking you to contribute for this one, it's $3,800 cost share, but for all paid positions, there's a cost share associated with it. We're also asking you to track personnel time. So that would be site supervisor time to supervise all of your AmeriCorps positions, your Campus Compact ones. or you can provide housing as an option to the paid position, or you can pay additional funding and cost share. We're offering that as just an option if you don't feel like you want to pay, if housing isn't realistic for you and you don't want to take the staff time to do the personnel time, then you could pay additional and cost share. All the cost share that goes directly back into the member that helps to pay for the portion of their wages and health insurance and anything else associated with that, so like FICA and that sort of thing. For our academic 3/4 time positions, again, those 9 months that are really full time, they earn a living or a wage of about a little just under $11,000. They still get the health insurance, education award, again, professional development. On the financial contribution side of things, we're asking the host site to contribute $2,700 in cost share. Again, the same thing, personnel time or housing, or you can pay that additional $1,000 in cost share if you don't want to track personnel or housing for those positions. For the academic half-time, they're earning a living allowance of about $8,000, have all the other benefits. The financial contribution, the cost share is $2,000, and you can also pay that additional $800 in cost share if you would like to do that. There's also the personnel time or housing that's associated with that. And then the last unpaid positions, those all receive that education award. It's the same value for them. So the value of that is about $1,200. I think it's almost $1,300 this year, not quite. They still receive that scholarship. And then what we're asking for from host sites is you can track personnel time. So whether it's staff time to supervise those members, maybe you're having other program expenses, or if you want to, you could pay an additional $50 in cost share for each of the enrolled positions. And kind of the idea there is that if you don't want to track personnel time, you don't want to do program expenses, or it just doesn't make sense for your organization to do either of those two, you certainly do have the option to just pay the $50 per member. We're going to take those funds and pour them back into the program. That's part of our obligation as a grantee. So that's just kind of how that works on that side of it. A couple of things to keep in mind for your AmeriCorps positions, like what are some of the core requirements for the positions. None of the AmeriCorps positions can violate any of the prohibited activities. So again, the voter registration drives, no proselytization, no abortion activities, no fundraising of federal awards, grants, contracts, no duplicating existing staff or volunteer roles or responsibilities, no displacing those, and certainly no recruiting volunteers to do any of the above. And part of our program is that we're really focused on the building of the capacity of organizations. So the positions are really dedicated to building the capacity of your organization or another nonprofit by providing indirect services. So what is that? One of the things also to keep in mind is, as you're thinking about, well, how can I possibly use these AmeriCorps members, is really to think of them as working towards completing projects and not administrative tasks. So what are they going to do over the course of 9 months? What's the project that they're working on? What's the project that they're going to work on over the course of 12 months, 4 months, etc.? You know, what is the thing that they're going to accomplish? We do have some suggested AmeriCorps activities with some position description templates, and I'll show you where those are here in a little bit. But if you're looking to create a Civic Action Plan, we do have a position description template. Now, it might not work for you exactly, but it could be a starting point for you to think about, you know, how could I possibly use an AmeriCorps member to help my campus to create a position description, or to create a Civic Action Plan. So that's just one possible idea. If you are want to do perhaps things in the area of community engagement, what we've commonly seen is on the side of research and development. We have a position description template about that. Same thing on the side of organizational development. Again, that research and development position description is a good place to start for that. The last two, program development. So you want to develop a new program or enhance an existing program. We do have a position description that's dedicated to that. So I can provide you with a good idea to start there. And then lastly, volunteer management. So if you're hoping to move the needle in that area, we have kind of two common positions that we've seen. One is more of a volunteer manager position where you're coordinating and training volunteers. And then the second one is volunteer recruiting, where you're really focused on just getting your fellow students involved into service opportunities out in the community or on campus. On AmeriCorps position descriptions, so if you are requesting a paid position, we are asking you to submit a position description, kind of a draft position description for each of the positions that you are requesting. We do have a position description template. And again, you can start with one of those 5 that I mentioned, and I'll show you where the template is. We do have some guidelines that are built around that, so it'll be good for you to kind of look through that. We also do have a training that's available if you want to watch a quick webinar on how to write effective position descriptions for this program. You can also, if you're happy to set up a consultation with either myself or Ryan, and we're happy to talk to you through all of the position description requirements. Again, just the resources, we have the templates and guidelines, as well as the position description training. And I'll go ahead and show you this right now, or at least where the templates and guidelines are. So if you go to Campus Compact AmeriCorps, formerly this was formerly ICAP, the same web page. You scroll down to the bottom, you can see down here we have our position description guidelines, as well as this is the template, the Campus Compact AmeriCorps template. This is the template you're going to use to put together that position description. And then we have the kind of template versions of those specific positions that I mentioned earlier before that you're welcome to take and to modify for your own use. And I'm going to go ahead and put this link into the chat box. That way you all have that there. Certainly you'll receive it in an email afterwards as well. So I'm going to head back to the slides. And then we do have the position description training on YouTube as well. So, yeah. Oops. Put that into the chat box. Welcome to look at that. On the side of personnel time, so just to talk about that benefit with this program. So what are some of the kind of core requirements with that? Well, what we're offering is if you can request up to 50% of a full-time position's wages and benefits to supervise Campus Compact AmeriCorps members. We do ask that you match 100% of the awarded funds. So it is that kind of one-to-one match. We do want you to enroll one paid AmeriCorps position, and we do waive the cost share fees associated with it. So if you wanted that full-time position that was the had a cost share of $3,800, we wouldn't collect that cost share for that. Our expectation is that you would use that to, for the personnel costs, the matching personnel costs. So we do want you to prioritize enrolling first-gen individuals of color or male students into your AmeriCorps positions. We really want this position to be dedicated to the implementation of the Civic Action Plan on your campus. That's really the big goal for us there, is to help your campus fulfill your goals in that Civic Action Plan. Some other sort of requirements or guidelines, again, that paid position. We do have some guidelines in the instructions about size of the program. So we do say about 15 to 20 of those part-time or 300-hour positions makes sense if we're going to pay, if Iowa Campus Compact is going to pay for about 50% of a full-time member staff time. So that's 100% of that person's staff time. The next kind of guideline is for about 10 positions of those 300-hour positions. We'll pay for about 25% of a full-time member staff time, so about 50% of their staff time, is dedicated to supervising AmeriCorps members. That's about what we're looking at on our sorts of things. Certainly you need to look at that and kind of think about if you're requesting personnel time, what makes sense for your campus and what makes sense for your context and your needs. And we'll certainly work with you to determine those sorts of details on what makes the most sense for your needs. And if you're also hoping to grow things over time, we're definitely open to having that conversation as well. We don't want you to kind of dive into something that just doesn't make sense going into next year, especially if there's opportunities to grow in the future. So we want to kind of meet you where you are as best as we possibly can. Some other things that we're asking for host sites to do if they are requesting and receiving personnel time is to work with us on the marketing communications, as we want to work with you to put out a press release announcing the award and program, and then also provide another marketing product that really just highlights the program's goals and current achievements, and really is just kind of a, what is your campus up to, and how are AmeriCorps members helping? So let's see, there's a question about the $50 cost share match in place of tracking personnel or part-time personnel time. So Joe, yes, that would be $50 per member, or you can track supervisor time, or you can provide documentation of other program costs. Kind of our goal is different from what we've done in previous years on the financial side of things, is for those in-kind costs, whether it be personnel time or supply costs or whatever, as we're not setting a specific dollar amount for you to work towards, is we want to give you, write something in where it's something that you can kind of work towards documenting and providing to us. So, and what makes sense, what best makes sense for you locally. So that's just kind of what we're hoping to accomplish there. So on the press release, can the press release be combined with the release about other AmeriCorps awards or goals? Yeah, I think the big key here is that we want Campus Compact to be recognized as a partner, or Campus Compact and Campus Compact AmeriCorps to be recognized as a partner working towards supporting your campus's goals in the community. So that's kind of our big idea with that. Whether it's just one or part of another one, I don't think there's much of a concern. That's this kind of standalone press release or not. Some other things that we're asking you, so if you are receiving personnel time, some other things that we're asking you to do are to conduct a member pre-orientation that communicates the program and position requirements. Really what your role is in that is pretty similar to what it is right now, is to kind of support our efforts in that area. So certainly we'll come out and we'll talk about the AmeriCorps side of things, but we want you to be there leading the efforts on the position and kind of on-site orientation sort of side of things. We do want that site supervisor to meet weekly or bi-weekly with members individually as appropriate, facilitate monthly member team meetings. We do want you to deliver Title IX harassment training to your AmeriCorps members, ensure your members attend key member training opportunities such as Civic Action Academy, our biannual in-person networking events, those sorts of things. Administer a member civic competency evaluation tool provided by Iowa Campus Compact. So that's part of going back to one of our outcomes that I talked about earlier, goals and outcomes, where we're trying to support members and their ability to give back to the community in the future. Some other requirements on the side of service site management responsibilities. We want you to conduct an in-person site visit prior to placing member at the site to ensure member safety, making sure that these sorts of things are really focused on and completed. Recruit, identify, and select your nonprofit sites. Co-create with service sites member position descriptions. Coordinate with Iowa Campus Compact and in-person orientation for all service site supervisors. And really our goal there for your nonprofit partners, if they're part of the program at that level, is to make sure that they understand the nuances of AmeriCorps and some of the do's and don'ts that go along with it. Administer a process to document AmeriCorps member service hours at the service site. Administer a partnership evaluation tool provided by Iowa Campus Compact. Other things we're asking you to do are to attend a full day in-person orientation delivered by us, and recruit and enroll at least one full-time member. prioritize the selection of first-generation students of color and male students as part-time AmeriCorps members as part of your cohort. And the last thing I'll say, last requirements here, lead the implementation or creation of your organization's Civic Action Plan, then actively promote Campus Compact events and opportunities to relevant audiences in your local community, on your campus, etc. I'll also say, you know, if you are looking at some of these responsibilities and you're really struggling to see how you could ever possibly do that, and it just doesn't make sense for you at all, have a conversation with us. We're definitely open to that. We hope that we can fulfill and you can fulfill all these requirements with the additional support that we're providing. But if it just, you know, doesn't make sense for a very logical reason, you know, have a conversation with us. We definitely want to be mindful of the challenges that you have going on locally too. The requirements for full-time members and part-time. Let's see. Are the requirements? So all the responsibilities to talk about now, this is just if you are receiving the personnel time. This isn't something that we're asking you to do if you're not receiving personnel time. Certainly you can aspire to work towards them or work towards them yourselves, but we're not kind of requiring you to do that. With that said, if you are receiving personnel time and you're looking at these responsibilities, another thing to keep in mind is that you can use your full-time or part-time members to help you fulfill these things. So don't feel like those are resources that are off the table as well. The timeline of things. So what's the kind of timeline that we're looking at right now? So March 15, 2019, that's the priority application deadline. And we will announce tentative awards shortly after that. I say tentative because we don't receive our final award notice until June. So that's when we're going to give our full notice of award. But so that way, you know, you have that everything guaranteed. Kind of the tentative award process, and this is what we've done in the past too, or pretty similar to it, is just to let you know that we want to support you at that level or at whatever level it works out. That's what we want to do working forward with you. We don't have any concerns about our current level of funding or being able to meet our obligation, but we also can't fulfill our obligation until we know for certain that we have the funds that are available. So that's just kind of why that process is that way. We do have a final application deadline, and that is May 10th, 2019. And that's the last time that we'll be considering post sites for this opportunity for the academic year. Again, then after that, we provide you with those official notices of awards. Our program year does begin on August 15th, 2019. This previous year, we began on August 1st. Volunteer Iowa set the start date, earliest possible start date is August 15th. So that's kind of what we're going after. And then the program year is going to end October 31st, 2020. And so that's when your AmeriCorps members can serve between, and that's when we'll be providing those site supervisor funding that's available for both of those. So just keep that in mind. On the side of selection, so how are we going to kind of select sites? This is the information that's in the host site instructions. It's something that's kind of what we've done in the past. So kind of look, if you're a returning site, looking at your previous performance and your ability to kind of meet the obligations of the grant. If you're a new site, looking at and considering your ability to recruit members and manage the program and manage the program overall. Some other things that we are considering. So if you're a campus and you're for your AmeriCorps positions, so the number of positions and the type of positions, you really want to understand their connection to your Civic Action Plan, whether they're creating or implementing a Civic Action Plan. If you're a volunteer center of Iowa, we want to understand how your AmeriCorps positions are helping you to recruit and manage college student volunteers. That's a key consideration for us. For those of you who are requesting personnel time, there's kind of three things that we're looking for. Is perhaps you're looking you're asking for personnel time to expand your current staff members' time to participate with the community, to kind of partner with the community. And the AmeriCorps program is going to help you do that. And by supervising your AmeriCorps members, you're kind of working towards that. Another possible thing you're working towards is use existing staff position to maybe deepen your partnerships with the communities or students. If that's something that is of particular interest to you, perhaps then lastly, you could also be creating an entirely new staff position to do either of the above. Maybe it's to expand, maybe it's to deepen, maybe it's a little mixture of both. That's really what we're looking at funding on the side of personnel time. So before I dive into the host site application instructions, I just want to pause for a quick moment and see if there are any kind of lingering questions, and I can go back to the slides because I'm not going to have the slides on the screen for a little bit. So I'll wait just a moment here. If you do, let me know.
For the start dates, August 15th is the earliest. What is the latest?
For the full-time position, you know, that says that in the application instructions.
Okay, we're good then.
Yep. I would say last year we gave about 4 or 5 weeks of a timeline in there, so we would want them to ideally be started by mid-September. With that said, I mean, we're also pretty flexible. We do have a drop dead date in there, which is 11 months out from the end of October, so the end of November. So there's kind of dropped, yep. So there's kind of the goal, and then there's the what is the last possible date. so that works. All right, so I'm going to hop back over to the website. So just back here at the website with the host site application, so you can see here, I will post a link to the recording of this technical assistance training in this section right here. You have the host site application, the application instructions, position description, guidelines, and all the templates that we have available with that. I'm going to dive into the host site application. This is an online form that you can fill out. We do have some instructions. These are the same instructions from the host site application instructions, so you can kind of look at that. So what we're looking for here is just to fill in your organization information, provide us with the EIN, and then we want to know, are you Iowa Campus Compact member institution or Volunteer Center of Iowa? You click that, and then if you're a Campus Compact member institution, we're asking you the question here, please describe how your Campus Compact AmeriCorps members will support the creation or implementation of your Civic Action Plan. And our recommendation is to describe it pretty broadly, you know, list some of the goals, maybe list pretty broadly some of the ways that we hope to use members to accomplish those things. I realize that asking this at this point, especially for those academic year positions and the student level positions, sometimes it isn't totally clear, but you can kind of talk about, you know, what are the goal or things that you're hoping to work towards. Certainly things can change. We understand the realities of that, and we're definitely sympathetic to that as well. The second item here for volunteer centers, so if you're applying under that application, what we're asking you to do is to upload a letter of support from an Iowa Campus Compact member institution. Part of our reasoning here is we really want to make sure that there's a strong partnership between the volunteer center as well as the campus, so that way we know that you're working as a partner in your with those AmeriCorps positions. So up next is the applicant information, just your name and contact information, and this is who we're going to communicate with. And then next we want to know what your requested positions are. Again, for the paid positions, we want you to submit a template for the positions. And so all you do here is you just, if you want a position, 1 or 12 or 100 or whatever, you just put in the number. If it's a paid position, it's going to ask you to upload a position description for each one of those positions that you put up there. If it's an unpaid position, it's not going to do anything. but there will be a total at the bottom of the screen here, so that way you have you can see what that total number is. The next section is on personnel funding, and so if you are or are not, we're asking you to just let us know if you are or are not. If you're not, then nothing happens. If you are, then additional field pops up, and all we're asking for here is the total amount of funding requested, as well as a job description for that position or those positions if you're splitting it up across multiple positions. And this is the amount of funding requested. This isn't the amount of match that you're contributing to it as well. The idea there is, again, it's that kind of one-to-one. So, you know, if you're asking for $10,000, our expectation is that you have, you understand the expectation that you're going to be matching that with $10,000 in personnel costs for that position. And then we're asking you 2 questions. So how will personnel support help your organization better serve the local community? And then also, what steps will your organization take to recruit first-gen students of color, male students into Campus Compact AmeriCorps positions? And there is not a character limit on those, as you can see there. So not to say that a longer one is going to be a stronger one, but it is, we want to give you enough time to be able to really talk about those things in a meaningful way for your particular organization. The next section is on cost share, requested funds, matching funds, just kind of a summary of what you're asking for. So the number of positions, I'll get rid of that little money sign there, but just lets you know the positions you're asking for, total value of your positions. If you ask for any personnel funds, that'll be there. And then your total value of request, and then your total matching funds. So if you, and this is more on the side of cost share, so we're not calculating like personnel costs or personnel costs as a source of match or housing as a source of match. We're not asking you to place a value on those at this point, but this is just what the cost share matching funds would be. So what's actually funds that would be on the table for you. So just know that. And then you just submit the form to us, and you'll receive a copy of the form, and you can expect that in your email just right after, and we receive a copy of it as well. So. Does anybody have any questions on the application, on how to fill it out, or anything related to that? All right, hearing none, I'm going to go back to slides. So if you do have questions about the program or the application or those sorts of things, here's our contact information. So for myself, if you have questions about the application, about the financial obligations, other sorts of requirements, if you want to brainstorm some ideas or other sorts of questions, feel free to contact me by email or by phone. Happy to talk to you. If you have questions about things about member position descriptions, I would encourage you to contact Ryan. He is the one that largely oversees position descriptions, and he's definitely your best resource when it comes to that. A few key reminders. Just remember that priority deadline is Friday, March 15th, 2019, and that final deadline is Friday, May 10th, 2019. There's the link to the application. I shared it in the chat box, and obviously you'll get a copy of that in your email inbox as well. So that's all that I have for the presentation. I'm happy to answer additional questions now. Happy to go back and to show some of the slides if you want to see something again, and just make sure that you have all the information that you need right now. All right.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Bye, everybody.